Hello friends of TvAgro, how cool to be with you today, teaching you this wonderful sport called OCI, an Obedience International class where you will learn many things that will suit your dog. Sociabilization issues, we will work on issues of behavior, conduct all associated and through sport. This is a sport that has been in Colombia for about 15 years approximately. It is a sport that has allowed us to have multiple national champions. We have had great exponents. We have been fortunate to be able to go out of the country to compete, to bring us very good results, and what we want today is to show you a little about the sport. You will find fantastic exercises that will help you to develop your dogs in your day-to-day, but at the same time will allow you to explore all those advantages that the dog has, its sense of smell, its speed, its intelligence through a sport like this. This sport basically has 6 categories where they will have the possibility of puppies, dogs that are novices, those who have a little experience in training with their dogs have a place to practice with them. We also have elite categories, grade 1, grade 2 and grade 3, which are much larger and much more important categories. It is a sport that has world championships that are held every year in different parts of the world, and someday we want to be there sharing with you an experience. Like this additional is a very complete sport. We invite you to practice, we invite you to know us. You can find us on social networks as Carlos Silva, and you can find me on Acebogota OC Colombia. We also have it on Instagram and Facebook, so you can contact us and give us the opportunity to work with you. We have our own team, the Team Dog Voice. We have been competing nationally for more than 8 years, and we hope to continue working hand in hand with you to learn a little more about the sport. The most important part of this sport is that there is no discrimination. In terms of breeds, I tell you that your dog is the breed that is a large dog, a small dog, a medium dog will have the option to practice a sport, as it has no physical limitation, has no limitation for your dog in terms of exercises, because each exercise is designed in the welfare of the dog is worth. Something very important is that the categories have different ages, so within those ages you will be able to look for the one that suits your dog, and each exercise will be taken into account both in the phenotype of your dog or the characteristics of your dog, which means that if your dog is a big dog like a Saint Bernard for example, it will be able to compete without any problem, or if you have a bulldog you will be able to compete, having clear that the regulation respects the size, the breed, and the speed with which your dog can execute a sport like this. Then there are no limitations for the participants. There are no limitations for the guides, and you can, if you have a good physical condition that allows you to walk, it is perfect for you, there is no problem. It is not a sport that requires a great physical effort because the dog is going to have to work. It is of your own free will, and you don't have to make big trips where that is going to be a point in favor. And the most important thing is that there is no average age where you can practice the sport. The dogs start from the months onwards, since they have their vaccination schedule, and they can start practicing the sport with us or with any of the guides that at the level of Bogota and at the national level work in the sport. Once you know in what level is your dog and what is left, you can place yourself in the different categories that we have for the development of the sport. The average age is 15 years. Old and upwards where you can practice without this meaning that a child cannot do the sport, cannot practice. Of course you can do, but we are talking about competitive levels. The guide must be older than 15 years, so you can take this as a discipline. Remember that it is a dog. Your dog has many skills, but also in this sport is treated as an elite athlete, where we take care of their food, where we take care of their welfare. Their vaccination, their vitamins is treated just like a high performance athlete, because those are then, if you want to learn the sport, you can do it through us. Well, once the dog arrives with us, the idea is always to help that good social relationship between the owners and their dogs is much greater and the bond is improved much more. The idea is that you can take classes where together with your dog, you will learn to develop the sport. We are always going to start with basic topics. Every sport is going to start with basic topics. Here we work on proprioception, where we are going to focus on your dog learning to move all his limbs very well, all his muscles. We are going to develop cognitive topics. We are going to develop skills topics so that the dog can understand and comprehend each one of these exercises. The most important thing is that by having an accompaniment you will always know which is the step-by-step for your dog to achieve the evolution you are looking for. No exercise is going to develop in record time. Every dog has a space, has a time in which he learns, his brain assimilates that information, and we begin to see evolution in the times in which the dog begins to develop. Here we do not have eagerness because the dog competes, but we are interested and we are looking for is that you can learn that your dog has a good process, that they have fun in the process and the development of the sport, and that they can get to have and meet the objectives that have been raised. Each category is a new goal, is a new challenge, is to enter the track, is to break the fears, break the barriers. That basically that's what it is about. Well, the most important thing, and one of the most important things that has the sport, is that tools, or the most common question that we often ask is how expensive it is to practice the sport and what tools I need to practice the sport. This is a sport that, unlike many others, does not demand or large areas or places and expensive tools for the practice of sport. As you see today, we are in a park practicing in the Virgilio Barco Library. Is a perfect space to be able to do it on land where we simply have dimensions to practice the sport. Well, this is a sport that is practiced more or less in a competition. In an approximate area between 20 to 35 meters would be more or less to have a relationship half a soccer field, or a little less than that to give you an idea in an official competition, but a training you can do parts of. Foundation in your home, in the living room of your house, in the park of the green areas of the place where you live. In parks like this there is no problem to develop any excuse so that you cannot do the sport. The second thing is that the tools we use are basic. We have cones, we have symbols, we have simple tools that fit in a suitcase that you can take to the park and practice without any problem. Really, the cost to work the sport is too economic. If you compare it with other sports, you don't have to buy neither excessive jumps, nor excessive things or expensive materials or costumes so that you can practice it. It is a very simple sport. That part of the foundation begins at home. If your puppy is not yet fit to go out in the street because it still doesn't have his scheme, it is a very simple sport. If your puppy is not yet ready to go outside because he doesn't have his complete vaccination schedule, part of the foundation can be done at home in your living room. You can teach him to sit and start with the basic things of proprioception, stabilization and stabilization sections. Learning to work on the puppy's brain. All this can be done inside the house, and then when you have a space to go out, or if your dog is old enough to go out to the park or start to do the process outside a park, we can start to work on game themes, motivation themes to encourage your dog to be with you and not to pay so much attention in the park with other dogs, but to really. We have a box which is a square of 3 meters by 3 meters, which is very easy to make. It is made of fabric and it does not have any high cost. We have these dishes. All this can be found in sports stores. Basically you can find it without any problem. We would have 2 highs. The highs are, one is open and the other closed. The closed one, you will see that it is like the one with the boards. You are going to see it now in images that will help us so that the dog knows where or which jump should be used according to the category in which you go. But the rest is only your club can have, or in the club in which you affiliate you can have those tools, and that's it. You don't have to make a very big investment so that you can take advantage of the sport. Well, let's talk a little about what benefits the sport has for those dogs at home or those dogs that have some behavioral issue. We encounter daily with dogs with anxiety problems, stress, with dogs that have a problem for their hyperactivity. It is true that they are dogs that are obsessive compulsive, that like the ball that are dogs that within the house they have behaviors that are not natural or that somehow affect the welfare within the family. This is a sport that will allow channeling all those emotions in dogs. Well, in Colombia we currently have two very important leagues that are supporting the Colombian canine sport. One is the CUT. The CUT is a federation endorsed by the WKU, which is the World Kennel Union, and by the FICAM. Here in Colombia they are basically also responsible for looking at the records, the dogs, to support the Colombian dog sport, and through them they have given us great support to work everything that is the dog sport in Colombia and basically in Bogota, and at the same time we have the league with the Colombian Canine Club. The advantage of having two leagues is that those who compete will have the option to go to one or go to the other or to work in both. And that will help us to promote and develop not only the sport nationally, but it will allow us to have a higher level of competition, to be much more competitive, and to continue going abroad to represent our country. With the support of the leagues, we currently have two international competitions for this year. We are going to Medellin to give a seminar on sport obedience. Also, the people of Medellin are very attentive. We are going there, and then we want to replicate this in Bogota, in Cali, in Boyacá, so that people have a wider knowledge about the sport, so that they know what we do, so that they know that there is a quality of dogs in Colombia, that there is a genetics that we have to support, and evidently that there is a very big work behind all this, many people working so that the sport works, and we hope to see them, and we hope that they accompany us in this process of growth with the sport.